It was a sunny afternoon in a small coastal town where the breeze carried the salty scent of the sea. As the fishermen's boats bobbed gently on the water, there was a sense of peace that surrounded the quiet streets. But that day, something was different. On the edge of town, a group of bikers cruised through, their loud engines echoing off the cliffs, disrupting the tranquility of the village. Among them was a young woman named Emily, the daughter of one of the most respected fishermen in the area. Emily had grown up with the sea, her father's voice calling out as he taught her how to mend nets and how the rhythm of the tides mirrored the rhythm of life. Despite her upbringing, she had always been fiercely independent, proud of her heritage, and determined to carve her own path in the world. She was walking down the main street, heading towards the docks, when she noticed the group of bikers gathered at the corner. They were laughing loudly, revving their engines and blocking the sidewalk. Emily, accustomed to the laid-back nature of her town, felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She tried to walk past them, but one of the bikers, a man with a leather jacket and an arrogant smirk, stepped in her way. He sneered and made a crude comment, something about her being the daughter of a lowly fisherman. The group of bikers burst into laughter, their voices carrying an air of superiority that made Emily feel small, insignificant. She tried to ignore them and continued walking, but the words lingered in her mind, stinging more than she cared to admit. Just as she was about to reach the end of the street, the biker who had spoken out moved to block her path again. This time, he wasn't just mocking her, it felt like a threat. His friends egged him on, encouraging him to say more. Emily could feel her heart racing, a sense of anger bubbling inside her. But before she could react, a deep voice echoed from behind. "I suggest you step aside," it said, calm and measured. The bikers turned, surprised. From the shadows, a tall figure emerged, a man with a posture that radiated authority and strength. His face, weathered and lined with experience, was stern but not threatening. His eyes, though, told a different story, one of someone who had seen and endured much more than most could imagine. It was Emily's father, Samuel, a former Navy SEAL, who had retired to the peaceful life of a fisherman after decades of service. His eyes scanned the bikers, reading them, weighing their intentions. The tension in the air shifted, the cocky swagger of the bikers faltering in the presence of this man. They hadn't known who Emily's father was, not just the quiet fisherman they thought he was. Samuel had left behind the high-stakes world of special operations for a simple life, but his training never left him. He was a man who knew how to command respect, how to defuse a situation without raising a hand, yet capable of far more if needed. The bikers, sensing the shift in energy, hesitated. They didn't want trouble, especially not from someone who carried himself with the calmness of a person who knew exactly what he was capable of. After a tense moment, the biker with the leather jacket muttered something under his breath, trying to regain his pride. But Samuel didn't engage. Instead, he turned to Emily, his presence instantly calming her. "Let's go home, Em," he said softly, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Emily, her face flushed with a mix of frustration and relief, nodded and followed her father without another word. As they walked away, the bikers didn't follow. They knew better now, the illusion of their invincibility shattered by the quiet power of a man who had long ago learned the true value of strength. Back at their modest home by the water, Samuel didn't say much. He knew his daughter, understood her spirit. He knew that, despite the anger she'd felt that day, she would never let herself be defined by others' words. And yet, in that moment, she had learned something valuable, not just about the kind of person her father was, but about herself as well. Emily had always prided herself on her independence, but that day, she saw the power in knowing when to stand up and when to walk away. It was a lesson in quiet strength, one that she would carry with her long after the bikers had faded from memory. And her father, though never one to seek attention or recognition, knew he had protected his daughter in the way only a true protector could. It was the kind of protection that wasn't about fighting. It was about knowing when to stand your ground and when to walk away with dignity. The bikers had learned the hard way that sometimes the most dangerous thing in the world isn't a loud engine or a threatening word. It's the quiet presence of someone who has nothing left to prove. And as Emily grew, she would always carry that lesson with her, ready to face the world with the same quiet strength her father had shown her that day.